everyone, I'm Rebecca and welcome back to my channel. Today I am diving into a brand new project and I'm very, very excited about it. So if you saw my recent haul video that I posted like about a couple weeks ago, which I will link down below in the description if you have not yet seen it, I found this fabric right here at the thrift store, which was really, really awesome. I think I paid like $6 and it's like 6 yards, so that was great. It is cotton. I think it's probably from the 1990s, but I have no idea. It is copyright Peter Pan Fabrics Inc. But it was so cute. It's just a lovely, lovely floral. I thought it was perfect for spring. And I also thought it would be pretty fun to do like a spring vintage style dress. So I have actually gone through Pinterest and just looked up a whole bunch of vintage dresses, especially looking at the 1950s and especially trying to look more at floral dresses. And I wanted to do something a little different than I've done before. So I was going through Pinterest and, you know, just kind of marking my favorites, saving my favorites. I can link to my Pinterest, by the way, down in the description. I'll go ahead and put a link down there if you're ever interested in just like checking out the things that inspire me. It's all on my Pinterest board. But I stumbled across this image right here, which is an advertisement, and oh my God, those pockets, right? Tulip pockets. Who would have thought that tulip pockets were ever a thing? I know that like external sort of decorative pockets were very popular in the 1950s, but I never in a million years thought that they would have tulip shaped pockets. So since that blew my mind so much, I decided that obviously I had to incorporate that into my spring dress here, because how perfect would that be? My garden is filled with tulips right now because they are extremely low maintenance and they just come back every year, even if I do nothing, which is my style of gardening. So then I continued browsing through Pinterest because, to be honest, I did not like the bodice portion of that dress. I really just loved the pockets. So I kept going through and was trying to find a bodice that I liked a little bit more. And I stumbled across this advertisement right here. And I just love the way that the contrast trim is used. I love the shape of the neckline. I really enjoy like the kind of tab look on the straps, but I've done too many jumper dresses. If you've been watching me for a while, you know that I have a thing for jumper dresses, like what I'm wearing right now. So anyway, I decided to create a sketch with some other potentials. Now, one thing that I did like about the first dress here is that it has tulip sleeves. I've never done tulip sleeves on anything before. So I thought, okay, tulip pockets, tulip sleeves, this seems like a fun combination. But I'm not sure if I incorporate some of the cool trim from the second dress, if the tulip sleeves would be too much, or if it would really work. And I am obviously going for a puffed tulip sleeve because, you know, you kind of have to. So I took to Instagram and I created a poll on this sketch that I made right here. So this is the sketch, but you'll notice that there's two different sleeves. We have a tulip sleeve right here, and then we have kind of a puffed sleeve look right here. We have obviously our gorgeous tulip pockets and the lovely sweetheart neckline with this like contrast down the center closure from the second dress. And so I asked on Instagram, should I do the tulip sleeve? Should I do the puffed sleeve just out of the regular fabric? Or should I make it a jumper dress and to be able to have whatever sleeve underneath? My one hesitation also, besides the fact that I've made a lot of jumper dresses, about making this a jumper dress is that I would kind of lose the really cool shape of the neckline. Like this just has standard scoop neck, but with the cool contrast trim and everything on this neckline, I was a little bit worried about losing that shape. But I guess I should not really have worried because my poll has been up for nearly 24 hours now, and at this point 58% of you have voted for the tulip sleeves, whereas only 26% voted for the puff sleeves and only 16% voted for the jumper dress. So cool, you all know that I've made too many jumper dresses. So we're going with tulip sleeves. So I will wind up amending my illustration here to make it tulip sleeves on both sides, but I'm very, very excited to get going on this project. So the next thing was that I was kind of looking through my patterns to see what patterns I could take and like alter to create this look. And the pattern that I think is going to be my main source of inspiration is going to be Bodice 6672. That is this one right here, because as you can see, it has a really similar neckline and it has the front closure all the way down the front. So I could easily contrast trim that and lap that. Now, one thing that this pattern has that I don't like is that it is gathered into the waist. I don't find that flattering. So I am going to turn that into darts. I also don't like the slimness of this skirt. So I haven't yet 100% decided on the skirt shape, but I am thinking either a circle skirt, which I think I have enough fabric for, or I could also do a gathered gorge skirt. So those were also very popular, where you basically have a bunch of panels that look like this, but they're a lot wider than your waistline, and you just gather them up to fit your waistline. Both of those are pretty simple types of skirts. Circle skirt involves a lot more cutting on the floor. Which is not my favorite thing, but circle skirts do look really nice, and you know, they flow really nicely when you turn around. So I still have to make that decision, which I need to do stat. But first I'm going to go ahead and cut out this pattern piece. Obviously I do also have to change the sleeves because this has just standard cap sleeves, but I went online and I found some like tulip sleeve tutorials. So I think I can turn just a regular gathered sleeve, puff sleeve into a tulip sleeve fairly easily, hopefully. Now, obviously, because there's so much embellishment going on in this project, this is going to wind up being a 2-week project. So I'm done with rehearsals now, still in performances for Titanic. I'll leave the information for the show down below because this video should be coming out while we are still in performances, since it runs through the first weekend of May. But yeah, I'm very, very excited to get started with this project. Excuse me, ma'am. I am trying to cut this into circles. You are in the way of my circle skirtness. Please enjoy the squeaks from Lion Squeaky Toy. Dora, I laid this out so I could cut it, not for you to sleep on it. Can you please move, ma'am? Dora? Dora, you gotta get off the fabric. Please, paint me like one of your French girls. As she stares down the lens. Dora, what are you doing? Dora, away from the lens. Dora, stop following the lens. Don't eat my friction pen. I'm using that. So as you just saw, I cut out the skirt pieces. I did decide to go with a full circle skirt. I am slightly concerned that I did not actually cut the waist large enough, although it's fitting the dress form, so I'm hoping maybe that'll work. But I forgot the fact that there has to be an additional seam in the front. So the back is all connected one piece. The front I cut into 2 pieces because most likely I'm doing a front opening, but I really don't know in that inspiration design if it had a front opening or if it possibly had a side zip and it was just like a decorative flap here. I'm not really sure, but either way, I needed to cut the skirt in the center. So now I am working on trying to figure out the tulip pattern for the pockets. I have kind of traced around my cell phone as a guide to make sure that my phone will fit in the pocket. I did this on the fold to try to get the tulip pattern, and I think that is a pretty good shape there. Hopefully that will work. And then I have to figure out how this winds up getting attached to the dress. I think I'm going to just like bind all of the pieces when it is all flat like that, and then do like some sort of a hidden stitch here. I'm honestly not positive, because if I do like a double fold type binding or something like that, then it will go around. But then should I do binding or should I do piping? Like I could do all of this with piping, but I feel like binding is a more 50s item because they really have that like wide look. It's much more defined. Either way, I need to either make or buy binding. So I do kind of feel like the scale of my pocket is way larger than on the original. I mean, you can just see how much of the skirt it's taking up, but I guess, you know, phones weren't a thing then, so you didn't have to hold as much. Maybe you were holding your lipstick and your keys. I have to hold a giant phone, so I guess I'm gonna have giant pockets. I'm now thinking about the changes that I want to make to the bodice pattern, and I kind of just held this front piece up to myself to see what changes I would need to make. It seemed way off size-wise, which like I did look at the pattern envelope, and oddly enough, according to this pattern envelope, I would actually be a 26, even though I'm normally a 24. Now that is based on the size chart, not the actual finished measurements. However, the finished measurements only have a bust measurement, not a waist measurement, which is not super helpful. The bust measurement for the size 22 fits. Again, not helpful. But that said, when I held the front up to me, it did not at all remotely fit. So I am actually going to be taking this front piece here up to the size 26. I'm also going to be increasing it in length just a little bit. So in addition to going up to the size 26 here, which again, that's like off the pattern, I'm sizing up the pattern here, but I've talked about this in previous videos, but basically I'm just taking what is the difference between two patterns and sizing that up again. But I'm also going to add a 1/2 inch up here and a 1/2 inch down here at the bottom, tapering that out to here because this part underneath the arm at the side, it actually seems like it's long enough. And I held up the back to myself, and I'm honestly worried that it's too big as the size 22. I am going to cut out the size 22 for my mock-up and just make it as is, and it should fit together nicely with this, and hopefully everything will work out. So let's go ahead and make that mock-up. Oh, actually one other thing. I'm also going to open up the neckline a little bit. It is just like too closed off. I think you can kind of see that on the pattern envelope, how high the neckline is. So I'm opening the neckline by 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch here. Honestly, I'm probably gonna take away more later, but we'll start there. So please forgive my very crusty appearance and weird appearance back here. We had a Sunday matinee earlier today, but I want to actually fit the bodice because on Friday I went and I cut out the bodice mock-ups, and I also started in on making bias tape, both wide or double fold bias tape and also single fold. I finished the single. I still have a lot more to make of the wider double fold, so still have to do that. But I have the mock-up on right now, and it is way too big. Of course it is, because I knew that it would be, but I went up to size 26 in the front anyway. And not only is it too large in the front, it is too large in the back. So I think you can see like just how big it is around here, around the bust. Obviously it should be basically fitting the bust, and then I have not yet darted it into the waist. So I'm hoping that I can just like take it in at the sides, but I really don't know. I'm also, of course, getting this, even though the pattern doesn't have bust darts in it, because I always kind of wind up needing bust darts, so I have a feeling I'll just add them in, because like, why not? Shoulders are, again, meant for someone with like shoulders that are immensely wider than me. I don't know, I must have really narrow shoulders. Like, that's just a pattern change that I seem to have to make with every single pattern. And I don't know why I didn't do it initially. I just wanted to see what it looked like on the pattern. I also want to open the neckline more even than the 1/2 inch that I did before. But yeah, my shoulder, like where my bra strap sits, is here. That's how narrow my shoulders are. So like half of this. So I really, really have to take a ton of that out. And then I guess, I don't know, like the arm size already seem really large and really low too. I'm gonna have to examine that in the mirror, because it might be that I have to actually bring it up more and take out some of what I had added in at the shoulders. I think that that is probably the case. But yeah, I have a lot of alterations to do. The one alteration that I don't think I have to do is, I think we're actually lengthwise down here hitting pretty well in the front. In the back, even though I did not add any extra length in the back whatsoever, we are too long because I'm sway backed. And again, that's an alteration that I have to make a lot. So I got a lot to do. I'm going to make some alterations, see what I can do with this, and I will be back in just a second for you. Take two. I took so much off and out of this, but we are so much better right now than I was a second ago. And what I'm looking at now, I forgot to raise up the back right here. I think it just needs to have about a 1/2 inch taken off of there. And then I did everything else, and I think I'm pretty happy with it. So that means that I can move into darts. I am going to add darts here because I need them. So, you know, why not add them? So I'm going to make some darts here, and then I'm going to make, either 1 or 2 darts. I can't decide yet, but there's either going to be 1 dart each side here or maybe 2. I'm thinking 1. I think 1 is all I'm going to need. And then the back is going to have like little baby darts because I don't tend to need that many darts, or that bit large of darts, I guess, on the back. So I think they'll be like little 1/2-inch darts. So I'm going to figure out those darts here, and then I should be good. Of course, that said, to be honest, you don't have to figure out your darts on your mock-up, because like this I am intending to use as my flat lining for my bodice. This is cotton sateen. I made the risk, or took the risk, that I could probably, even though this was the first time using the pattern, probably use it as my lining, and I think that has paid off. That said, I might go ahead and like make a paper pattern of this just so I have it. I always do that sort of thing, and then I don't often, other than like the gunny socks, I don't have to actually use those paper patterns. But yeah, so I think I'll go ahead and put some darts in just so I can transfer those to the paper pattern. But like, I'm gonna need to wind up slightly, possibly altering the darts anyway in the final. That's why you don't necessarily need to do your darts at this phase. You could do them in your final if it's flatlined. So there's a little tidbit for you. But anyway, I'm gonna put the darts in, and then I should be good. Another reason why I don't tend to pin darts at this stage is because like, you're just never gonna get them even. So I have pinned darts. I was trying to make them even. They're not at all. Now, obviously, bodies are also not even. Bodies are not symmetrical, especially like when you're talking about a bust, it's not symmetrical. So honestly, it does make sense to have some level of disparity between like one side and the other side. But my darts, they're super off. I really like how the darts are looking on this side. I think they look really, really nice. So I'm going to copy these to the pattern and basically just forget about these entirely. And then hopefully these darts will work at least moderately well also on this side. If not, I can tweak them a little bit, but since this isn't also like Victorian bodice must fit like a glove type stuff, you know, we do have a little bit of ease in like the 1950s, whereas we didn't really have ease so much in the Victorian era. I think it'll be okay if it's not quite even, but yeah, I definitely like the ones here a lot better than whatever's going on over here. So I'm gonna go ahead, take this all apart, transfer everything to paper and also to the actual fabric, get that cut out, sew it back together. Basically, we're gonna get back to whatever this state is in the actual fabric. Now that said, it is 9:04. I can almost guarantee you that that won't happen tonight. So keep your fingers crossed. I've got about an hour left of sewing. Let's see what all I can do. So I stayed up for much later than I had meant to because I really, really wanted to get this all like together. But yeah, so I have everything together now. I did stitch the darts in. I don't feel like pinning it in place or taking off my sweater right now, so this is what you're getting. So yeah, the darts are stitched in. I don't know if they're gonna be quite right until obviously I put this on and double check. And at that point I can alter those darts. And I transferred everything just to the pattern pieces that I'd used like from the commercial pattern, because almost everything fit within those patterns other than where I had kind of like adjusted for length. I wound up actually taking all of that extra size out that I had added in up to the size 26 as far as like width wise. So yeah, did not need that whatsoever. So that was great. But yeah, here we are so far. And next week I'm going to start off by double checking how the darts fit and finishing making the bias tape. And then everything can kind of just go together, especially once the bias tape is done. That's kind of like the big thing because there's so much of it needed on here. Because I mean, the bias tape is going to go around the neckline. Obviously I do also have to do the sleeves next week. Those will have bias tape. And I'll be patterning tulip sleeves like myself because I don't have a pattern for that. I think I told you I found some online tutorials and I will link one down below in the description. But yeah, the pockets need the bias tape. Pretty much everything needs the bias tape. The skirt has been hanging out in the background there. So I'm hoping that the like hem will have dropped out even though the skirt pieces aren't actually together. I will be putting the skirt pieces together. Just everything will hopefully come together next week. And hopefully by the end of next week, I will have a finished tulip dress, which will be really awesome. But hopefully you've enjoyed this video so far on starting this project. If you like this video, please go ahead and click the thumbs up icon. And if you'd like to see more videos like this from me, please go ahead and click subscribe and the little bell icon to be notified every time I post a new video. I do post videos here on YouTube at least once a week, with my sewing vlogs like this out on Tuesdays and sometimes additional content out on Saturdays. But I post every day over on my Instagram, so please go follow me on Instagram. That's at Lady Rebecca Fashions. And if you'd like to help support all of the work that I do on this channel, I do have a link to my Patreon and my Ko-fi down in the description below. I'd also like to give a special shout out to my Edwardian level patrons, Sharon, Mirage, Laura, Jean, and Janelle. Thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Happy sewing!